MMA Media. What's up, Mastermind?
Yo, what's good? It's Mastermind MMA, and you're tuned into the Mastermind MMA podcast. It's episode 9 up in this bitch. 9 episodes strong. 9 episodes of us doing the damn thing. It's funny because the first thing I ever uploaded on this channel was a podcast episode. My first podcast episode, and just the growth of the channel from then and now, and just all the support and shit like that. I fucks with you guys, and you guys are the reason I do this shit. So shout out all you guys. Speaking of podcasts, I have a new podcast with the homie Jamari. It's called Jake and Jamari from the East to the West. My name is Jake, if you guys didn't know, and Jamari and me, obviously Jamari's West Coast, I'm the East Coast, so I thought that was like a cool name for it. And it's pretty much like what me and the homie do when we get on the phone and like talk, you know what I mean? So we have a 219 recap where we talk about a whole bunch of other stuff too. So definitely, if you listen to anything I've done with the homie, we have a lot of shit we've done together. But we cover so much shit and like so much ground, and there's a lot of gems in there, and a lot of the homie provides a lot of inside information on some shit. So definitely go check that out, and we're gonna have more shit coming, and I'm gonna be cranking out this content. Gonna keep coming strong. 2018, we're gonna keep coming stronger. So I'm looking forward to the growth of the channel, the growth of the community, and just rocking how we rock, that high level MMA talk, that illustrious content. So, that elite MMA content we have. So we're going to keep rocking you guys. I appreciate all you guys all the motherfucking time. So, I always got to show love, shout you guys out. Yeah, man. Oh, also in the beginning of the podcast, where like that little thing in the beginning you heard, that's Alan Joban and Karen Bryant. They shouted us out on their channel, their podcast, the MMA Heat podcast, a little while ago now. But that clip is, I just put that in there because I wanted to shout out Alan Joban because he's got a fight coming up in a few weeks, like in February. So shout out Alan. He's fighting Ben Saunders, and I fucks with Alan. That's my guy. So I'm wishing him the best. I hope that he definitely gets that W in phenomenal fashion, and hopefully he's in the top 15 this year, like pretty close to it. You know what I mean? So I'm wishing the best to him. Also, shout out Misha Tate. She announced she's pregnant, so congratulations to her. I'm sure she's going to enjoy motherhood. Shout out to Brian Tate. And, Misha, she's had a great career. UFC champion, Strikeforce champion. And, nothing to hang her head about. She's had a great career. She's collected a lot of hardware. And now she's entering a new chapter of her life. I don't see her coming back. I didn't see her coming back before, but I definitely don't see her coming back now. So it's good, she's a great analyst. She can move on to other things, not get brain trauma, and enjoy life. So I'm wishing her a happy, healthy baby and a good delivery. And I hope she enjoys motherhood, and I hope Brian Tate enjoys motherhood as well. So congratulations to the happy couple. Now, where do I want to start, man? Really, honestly, man, we've talked about a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of shit, and as of right now, it's just kind of one of those things where all the stuff happened, and there's really not much going on. But what I did want to talk about is just like whatever is kind of going on, and I really wanted to keep like the shit coming. So we're gonna have content coming even when it's slow. You know what I mean? In the slower days, it's cooler to have some content because you guys have some shit to listen to. So what I want to talk about, I'll start off first with Conor and Khabib. I actually started this episode yesterday, like none of what you heard, but I went to sit down and record a podcast episode yesterday, and like I started talking, and it was just like so like bare and dry and not much to talk about. And I don't know, man. It's just slow in the MMA world right now. So I'm hoping that this run goes better and I can figure out more shit to talk about. You know what I mean? So when it just diving on in front, when it comes to Khabib and it comes to Conor, fucking Khabib and Conor, man, I feel like it's cool. It's cool to have the back and forth. It's cool to have what just that drama, I guess. But on the other hand, it's like we kind of already have something set up. Like we can't really bypass it, and otherwise it gets a little too messy. You know what I mean? We got Conor and Tony. Conor and Tony needs to unify regardless. Conor and Tony need to unify. Not only that, there's like also the unfinished business of Conor and Nate. So, that's kind of looming there because Nate beat Conor. Conor edged the decision on Nate, got the nod, and there needs to be that rubber match. Like, you need to settle that shit. It can't go unsettled. And, so you got that, and that's obviously a draw. And now you have Conor setting shit up with Khabib, which is cool, but, like, it's cool if he's willing to be able to kind of go back to the Conor of 2015, I want to say. Like, yeah, like, whenever fucking he knocked out Aldo, like, where Conor was fighting real frequently, when he went from, like, fighting in August to fighting in March. No, when he went from August to fighting in December to fighting in March to fighting in August again, and then to fighting in November. You feel me? If Conor goes back to that, then this is dope as fuck, because he's setting up the targets to shoot it down. You know what I mean? But if it's gonna be an issue where Conor is not getting paid what he's supposed to be getting paid, so that's gonna be like putting a stress on it, that's gonna be a problem, man. Because not a problem, it's just gonna be like pointless, because like it's gonna be worse if you have like build up and tension that you're never gonna get to see or have it be resolved. Like, it would have been so annoying if John Jones got pulled off the 214 instead of popping after. You know what I mean? That would have been the worst. Honestly, if John Jones got pulled off the 214 without fighting Cormier, I'd be like, I never want to see them fight. Like, I'm done with it. I was close to that point after 200 where I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done with it. But the thing about this is, if they get Conor's contract right, I feel like we're gonna see Conor just like run shit and make paper again. If he could, like, if he doesn't face any hurdles, if Conor could unify with Tony and then turn around, fight Khabib, and then you have that Nate fight. So, whichever variation after Tony, but Tony is first and he's foremost. So it's cool that he's setting up the targets and shit, and I appreciate it. But I'm not trying to see it as of right now. You know what I mean? We all get Conor he has the crown in that division, and we all get he's looming over that division. There's no doubt about that. So to have like Conor and Tony and Khabib go back and forth, it's like cool. Like, I fuck with the build up. But how you building up a fight before your other fight you need to build up? So I get, like, that's one thing, but I get that it is Conor, and Conor loves his options, and the rule set doesn't apply to Conor. So if he wants to fight Khabib and just leave Tony just hanging with the interim strap, he probably could do that. If he wanted to fight Nate and just leave Khabib and Tony hanging, he could probably do that. So honestly, man, I just want them to get his contract right, because I mean, we know Khabib is a big, like, I don't know if we know Khabib is a big draw. We know Khabib has a large following, and we know Conor has a large following, and obviously if you bring two followings together, it's going to make money. Like how Nate had a big following, and then you bring them together with Conor, and what do you get? The biggest pay-per-view in the company's history. So Get Conor's bread right. And the reason I'm saying that, man, is because Conor needs to get paid in the UFC because he needs to change the game. Because Conor, although Conor is, and I'm going to go off of disclosed purses when I'm talking about it. I'm talking disclosed purses. When Conor is the top dog in MMA, getting the paid the most, when you go to boxing, man, his disclosed purse isn't like shit to a boxer. Honestly, man, I feel like if I remember right, Amir Khan got like 13 or 30. I can't remember exactly. He got 13 or 30 million dollars for fighting Canelo when he fought Canelo Alvarez, dude. His disclosed purses are very large. Triple G, they're balling out of fucking control, man. They get paid. Boxers get paid. The thing is, man, MMA doesn't have that yet. Conor's the only one getting paid. And think about it, bro. His biggest payday was in boxing. So Conor needs to really change the game and revolutionize it where he can't be an anomaly. He can't be an exception to the rule. He needs to actually change the game. Because you got people like GSP, whose contract was bigger than Conor's. You got John Jones, whose contract was bigger than Conor's up until recently, and John Jones was the highest paid UFC fighter. You know what I mean? John Jones been making that bread, but he hasn't been flamboyant with it, so a lot of people haven't been knowing the actual kind of money he's been getting. So that's like, and obviously you have Ronda making coin, but that's the top, like the creme de la creme. It needs to really be where those people get paid extremely high disclosed purses, and then have just like the upper mid tier to mid tier people getting like, you know what I mean, like a couple mil. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say upper mid to mid tier, I'm talking like your certain champions. You know what I mean? I'm sure champions are getting their bread, but they're not getting the bread like boxers. Yeah, I'm about to find out what his purse was for Canelo. Amir Khan, I'm saying. Yeah, hold up. I'm about to tell you. Yeah. So it's like he's pretty much guaranteed. It was 13 million from his fight with Canelo. So I was right. Um, Disclosed purses though are looking relatively the same. I'm not even gonna lie. Like Canelo is like 3.5 million, but he's really taking in like 15 to 20, and Amir was 2, and he's taking in like 13. But at that time, Canelo wasn't the Canelo he was now. And you know, Amir Khan, man, like he's got his career took like a few good hits, you know what I mean? And he's still like pulling in that bread like that. So, you know, all I want is like wealth distribution amongst the fighters. And if Conor can elevate that and elevate the game to that extent where he shows his contract is this, they're going to have to pay people because it's going to create a discrepancy because you're going to have more people going over to it's obvious. You're seeing it, man. You're having more people going over to Bellator. Yeah, more people getting the money they're missing out on because whatever they weren't making in their purses, they were making up for it more in their sponsorships. So especially once Reebok hit, and you know there's no Reebok in Bellator, so I mean you don't have the prestige and like you're not in the premier or organization, but you're making paper. So at the end of the day, people are going to go to what's going to feed their family. So honestly, and another thing is, I feel like Conor is also, getting at Khabib as well to remind people, listen, I'm that guy that could bring you guys in the paper. So just pay me. And I know we all know they're in the middle of negotiations. So this is definitely like more posturing, because listen, he's like, I could bring you in this this get over 1 million pay-per-view buy with Tony. I could probably pull 2 mil with Nate. I could pull almost 2 mil with, he could probably almost pull 2 mil from now on, honestly. And the sooner they get him in, the sooner they could capitalize off Mayweather McGregor, because a lot of people are very casual fans who really didn't know who Conor was before. And after seeing him, it sparked their curiosity. I've seen him against like Floyd. What does this guy do? Let me see what he does for real in the octagon. So you're going to bring over a bunch of casual fans and a bunch of casual eyes. And, you're going to bring in, and if you stack a fucking card, if you make a card like 205 stacked with 217 results. And what I mean by that is like if you have a card with like the marquee names like you did, but it delivers to the extent that 217 did with entertainment, you're going to create fans. So the longer you wait, WME wait to bring in Conor, the longer and the less percentage and the less people they're going to be able to convert from that, because they definitely cashed the fuck out in August, but now you actually have an ability to not have it be just like a one-time thing, but bring in more eyes to the sport, and you could even bring in more boxing fans over. So really, they could do the damn thing, because if like, I don't see how anyone could watch a card like 217 and not fuck with the sport. You know what I mean? So if you guys get these motherfucking sirens, man, if you guys get Conor back soon, even if it's against Tony, it's a win-win. If Conor wins, boom, his belt is legit as fuck, because the resume and the work that Tony did is going to transfer over and sit on the back of Conor, because Tony has pretty much effectively cleaned out the division. He beat real tough guys on the division. He's on a crazy streak. And if Conor does that, it's like, boom, there we go. He unified the belt. He actually defends the belt. Not only does he defend a belt, he does it against the top dog of that division. If Tony wins, it's the Nate Diaz effect. He could have a star-making performance, and although Tony has his cringy moments, Tony is unapologetically himself, and he's sincere and genuine to who he is as a person. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He doesn't think if this guy thinks he's corny. He doesn't care if this guy thinks he can't shit talk. He's like, you know what? I'm me. I fuck with who I am, and that's all that matters. So he has that kind of, and almost like that Nate Diaz characteristics where he's a tough motherfucker. He lets his shit do, like his fighting do the talking in the cage. And he's really one of those guys that just puts in that work, man. Like one of those hard workers. And he could get the rub off Conor and be one of those fighters that actually propel more into the mainstream and people know their names. Fighting Conor, just even fighting Conor, period, people know your name. You could ask many casual fans, they'll know who Eddie Alvarez is only because he fought Conor at MSG. But and Nate Diaz became a fucking superstar after he beat Conor. He was already a star, but he became a fucking mainstream superstar after beating Conor. So the same thing could happen to Tony. And with when it comes to what's his face, Khabib already has his fan base. Khabib has his following, and he could be introduced to a larger fan base. And I don't know if it'll propel him to superstardom, but he'll definitely be a huge star, and more people are definitely going to know his name. The only reason why I said I'm not sure if it is going to propel him to superstardom or not is because when you look at Tony and you look at Khabib, Tony has the more fan-friendly, entertaining style. He has the more like fight of the night style, and that's what really draws and gets people in. Khabib has his style where it's just complete and utter domination, and you can't help but be in awe and just respect how he just manhandles people. You know what I mean? You can know exactly what he does. You know he's going to get you down. You know he's going to hump your leg. You know he's going to hold your wrist down. And he's just going to beat the fuck out of your face. And there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. And another thing about Khabib, man, Khabib isn't one of those people that are... He's not a DC versus Anderson Silva at UFC 200. There's nothing about him that's like that. Khabib is probably one of the only people that have that, you know, the leg humping style, but could still make it entertaining and still make it like, ooh, fuck, like, damn, Edson, get out of there, bro, like, fuck, like, you know, really land those shots and those elbows that really bring out a visceral reaction, where other people really don't do that. Like a Ben Askren, you're not gonna get like much entertainment out of watching a Ben Askren fight. But watching Khabib Barboza, that shit was fun. Also, Khabib wasn't hesitating to stand with Edson. His stand-up was looking pretty decent and improved. So now you have Khabib who's rounding out his game, man. And I feel like Khabib, bro, like, you know, I'm Team Tony, and I fucks with Tony heavy and all of that. And I still pick Tony to win. But damn, like, and if I'm being real, I'm being honest, I'm picking Tony to win out of the fact that, like, I fuck with him, you know what I'm saying? But Khabib, man, like, you can't just you have to respect it, man. If you don't respect it, you're just hating. You're just a hater. Like, the way he does what he does, that he has his shit so refined and so down pat, like I was talking about in episode 8. When I was talking about Ortega's jiu-jitsu, you know, how just that he could just has those techniques so clean that it's unstoppable. And I equated it to pretty much having knockout power, because he could finish the fight, you know what I mean, at will. So Khabib kind of, with how he refined his skill set and just mastered it, he literally has it down to like systematic mastery. He knows what he wants to do, and he could implement it pretty much on whoever he wants to do it to. And at this point in the game, that shit's wild, especially to do it against someone like Edson. And Edson Barboza, man, this is really one of those classic striker versus grappler matchups. But you know, it just showed the dominance of grappling. But Edson never gave up, and Edson was always looking to knock Khabib out. And, you know, he landed that heel kick backing up, you know, landed wheel kicks backing up, and that shit's impressive. And Khabib ate that shit like it was nothing. So Khabib is a fucking monster, man. And the more he shows, the more it's just like, damn, dude, this guy really is that dude. And I'm really fucking pumped, man, for Khabib Tony. I don't know if they're going to make it before. I don't know if they're going to strip Conor and make it like how they did with Whitaker, where they strip GSP and just make Whitaker Rockhold. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do that. But I wouldn't be mad if they do that, to be honest with you. Because we need to see that fight, man. Pretty much... This fight, when Tony Ferguson fought Edson, he was supposed to fight Khabib, and Khabib pulled out. You know, we've had it so many times where Khabib pulled out, and then one time Tony pulled out, and then, you know, Khabib couldn't make weight. So this is something we've been waiting to see, and it's almost like John Jones DC, except we never even got to see it once. So, at least with John Jones and DC, we got to see that one time. This we haven't seen at all, period. So I would like to see that sooner than later. Both of their hypes are pretty high now. Their stock has stayed. But, you know, the best situation would have been if it happened at 209 when it was supposed to happen. Because that way it's like, all right, the best of the division rised up. And then you have the Conor thing. Now you have two guys who are, you don't know who's better, Tony or Khabib. They both seem to be the best of the division. You have Tony, who pretty much should have cemented his place for a fight with Conor. But, you know, Conor is talking with Khabib too. So it's like you kind of have this triangle and you don't know where it's going to go. Because even like Mayweather McGregor, when he was saying, when Dana was like, Conor wants Khabib in Russia, don't you love this kid? And it was like, yeah, but, you know, Khabib's the one that didn't make weight. And Conor even said he's unsure of fighting Khabib because he's kind of tired of facing people that don't show up and have to fight last-minute opponents. And, you know, it kind of looked like everything was pointing to Tony Conor, and now you just kind of don't know. And especially with, you know, even having an interim belt doesn't guarantee you a fight with the champion. Robert Whittaker was the interim champion, and then Bisping fought GSP. So we're at a stage in the game where things aren't as linear and as guaranteed as we thought it was. And how it should be, you know what I mean? So rules are different. And listen, man, I get people are frustrated. I'm all for super fights and I'm all for entertainment and shit like that. But I mean, we gotta have some sort of order. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just really throw interim belts like that, because that's really how boxing got fucked up, man. You got the WBC, the IBA, the ABC, the XYZ, and the FFA, and like all this crazy stuff. And it's like, man, like, who's really the best in the world if you got this? Like, you know what I mean? You got Deontay Wilder and you got Anthony Joshua, and then on top of that you got Tyson Fury. So it's like, you really don't know. Like, they all are champions of the world. So you really don't know. I mean, Tyson's situation is his situation. But, you know, you got Deontay Wilder, you got Anthony Joshua. They're both the best heavyweights in the world. But who's better? You know what I'm saying? Like, and Anthony Joshua's got like 3 titles. Deontay Wilder's got just like the WBC title. So it's like, you could go off of that argument. But no, it's just better if they just fight and get it over with. So it gets messy once you start having those things, and then when you start to look at the landscape of MMA, you got, when you're like, all right, who's the best lightweight in the world? You got Conor, you got Tony, who's got the interim belt, and then you got whoever's in Bellator, whoever's the lightweight champion of Bellator, and you know, like, obviously you would guess, you know, like, Bellator is not even really a factor, but you really have people that are high level and that might be able to hang at Bellator. Oh, Brett Primus or whatever. Yeah, that's not even the thing, man. Fuck that guy. We'll say Michael Chandler. So it's like, oh, so you got Conor, Tony, Michael Chandler, and then you really kind of could throw Khabib in there. So you kind of see where it's almost taking a boxing turn, and that's honestly what killed boxing. Like, killed it for a while. And when you look at it, man, like, the only reason boxing was having a better year this year is because of the emergence of new talent. But the emergence of new talent and boxing started to follow what the UFC does. Boxing started to give you the fights fans wanted to see when they wanted to see it. You know, people were clamoring for Canelo and Triple G. They actually gave it to you. Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko. They gave it to you. Lomachenko Rigondeaux, they gave it to you. So boxing just took a page out of MMA. So that's the reason why they're successful this year. They started to do what Dana White does. So it's like, Dana, don't turn away from what you're doing. Don't change it up, but keep doing what you're doing and do it better. I get for the super fights. I love super fights. Like I'm more for super fights than anyone, but we got to keep some order in the division. And if we're going to be putting out the interim belts, we have to keep it to where it makes sense and have the interim belt have value. Otherwise, it's just going to deteriorate the brand, the promotion, and everything. So that's not going to be a good thing, man. So, yeah, man. What else we got going down? We have Michael Bisping talking about John Jones, saying John Jones is going to have a reduced sentence, possibly. They're working on it. They're testing supplements. He said he even talked to Nowitzki about it. He said that they're working on what they can do to be able to reduce his shit, you know what I mean? So he could come back and fight, get the least amount of motherfucking suspension. Let me see if I can pull that vid up. Yeah. Hold on. Fucking YouTube commercials, man. I'm trying to pull up that vid. Hold up.
They might find a loophole. They might find a technicality. Who knows? But they certainly.
Hold on, let me bring it back.
Comes back and gets cleared. Which apparently there's talk that he might be getting cleared. Then DC and Jones would have to do it again for a third time, which would just be insane.
Why?
What do you think?
Where'd you hear that there's talk about him getting cleared? I didn't hear that.
Well, no. I mean, you started looking into it, and it's an ongoing investigation. I can't give you a hard and fast update exactly, but I was speaking to Jeff Nowitzki about it a while ago, and there's a few lines of inquiry that they're going down, the testing supplements, they're doing all kinds of stuff. So, listen, there's no smoke without fire, and of course, everybody uses the tainted supplement as the defense. But they're trying, and if they're trying, you never know, they might find something. They might find a loophole. They might find a technicality. Who knows? But they're certainly trying, and they're spending a lot of money on testing all these supplements and whatnot. So I think basically when people are doing that, they're just looking for a technical way to get out of it. Yeah, they're looking for a good excuse.
So you heard it right there, man. That's coming from Michael Bisping. So we might get DC Jones 3 come 2018. Or we'll get fucking Uzdemir versus Jones. You never know. Like, you really never know, to be quite honest with you. So we could get Jones DC for a third time, or if Volkan is the new champ, you got your new guy right there. So you got a fresh matchup. And man, I don't know if I'm even trying to see DC John for the third time. I get that if he comes back and DC's still champion, it's something we're going to have to see again. But I'm not interested in it in the least bit. I'm quite honestly sick of it. It's a little nauseating at this point. No one's really trying to see, like, if you're playing a video game, you're not trying to do the same level over and over again. If you're just, redundancy gets boring. You're not trying to see the same shit over and over again. And it wasn't to the point where it was, you never know what's gonna happen. Granted, they're both close fights, but in the first one, John won. Like, there's no question. I don't see how anyone could spin that DC won that fight. And then in the second fight, it was very close, but John knocked him out. So it's like, I get that a different result could yield, another time can yield a different result, but I'm just sick of it at this point. I'm really done with it. I'm not trying to see that. But if it's something that we have to get to kind of get going with shit, I'd be down, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't even have anything against DC that much anymore. Like the rival, like my thing against DC kind of got deaded with his performance because DC looked good. You know, DC was doing his thing. Even how DC handled shit afterwards, I respect DC more. So it's not like how it was before. So I mean, I'm just like, everyone's sick about that. Sick of that. I imagine everyone here is. So, you know, I'm not trying to see that. I get DC as a competitor wants to fight him again, and I definitely respect the fuck out of that. And for DC's sake, I would want DC to be able to get that fight again for DC's sake. But I'm just not trying to see that, my guy. We got Mackenzie Dern fighting Ashley Yoder. Mackenzie Dern is sexy as fuck, so she's got potential, and she's crazy good at jiu-jitsu. Watch her submission at LFA, where she combines like a omoplata with a triangle. She does some wild shit, man. Dope submission. She really has potential of being a gigantic star. Yeah, so shout out to her, man. You got that whole thing with the Jackson Wing photographer calling Chris Cyborg a man. He's claiming that he only did that because he heard her talking shit about Holly and calling her a bitch and laughing with her toe in her eye and all that. And they said there wouldn't be an apology, and I guess there's an apology, and they removed his credentials, and it's just overall a very immature, very stupid issue that it's like, is this really what we're dealing with on with professional athletics, like at the highest level? Honestly, like this is the greatest sport at the highest level, and we're dealing with like this immature bullshit with all grown-up people. If it was like something like happening with like Alpha Male and like Cody No Love and shit like that, I would get that, because Cody's a young guy. Speaking of Cody and what's it in Team Alpha Male shit, bro? Cody, I was watching the Mike Swick podcast like a week ago, and whenever Cody Garbrandt was on, and I was watching Cody, and he was talking about how Van Damme kicked him in the face, and it was funny as fuck, the story. And he came out, and the video came out, and you see him getting his fucking, like, from his description of it, from the way he described it and to what the actual video was, it's like, all right, you definitely were over exaggerating, man. Like, parts of it matched up with the story, but when it comes to the actual kick, it was it was like, I'm not saying it didn't hurt or nothing like that. I'm sure, like, even if it's light, you know what I'm saying, I'm sure that shit would have hurt. But like, the way he described it, it was like that they're just fucking around, and Van Damme just like rips a kick to his jaw, and his like teeth are about to fall out and shit, and he's so pissed, and he was like looking at him like, you ready to fight and shit like that. And he made it sound like this whole thing, but when you look at the video, they're fucking around, and the way they're fucking around is very similar. I don't know if you've ever seen that video of like John Jones and Anderson Silva outside the Jacob Javits Center, and that's in New York, and they were like just like kind of fucking around, but like they were pretty much, you're just feinting with each other, you know what I mean? You're throwing techniques, and it's in slow motion, and it's kind of like a dance more than anything. But that's pretty much what JCVD and Cody were doing, and it's funny because like he kind of like, he hits Cody. It doesn't. All right, I'm not gonna say it wasn't hard, but it didn't look to the extent that Cody was describing it. And then he's just like, Jean-Claude Van Damme is just like, fuck. Well, first when he kind of taps, when he hits Cody gives him that look like, oh, and then he like kind of gives him like that hand gesture, like, let's go, motherfucker. Like, he like, what, you want to fight? So like that part's true. But then when you and then Jean-Claude is like, fuck. And then he tries to apologize to Cody, and then Cody's like all butthurt and like walking away. I'm like, all right, man, like that's definitely like not what you described on the podcast when it comes to the extent and the power of the kick. And it really did look accidental. I don't think Jean-Claude Van Damme was like, I'm going to kick this guy in the face. If he was, man, like that's fucked up. And I don't know what was going on that day. So I don't know the vibes, and I don't know why Cody feels that way. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that out of context clip didn't look like that. But, that's just so funny, man. The way Jean-Claude Van Damme said, fuck. And I always felt like George St. Pierre was Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport. You know what I mean? So I always feel like George St. Pierre was like the real life Frank Dukes. So shout out GSP and shout out Jean-Claude. But I feel like, and then Cody was saying like after that shit happened, Jean-Claude Van Damme was like down on like all on his knees screaming like my champion or some bullshit. It just sounds so funny, man. I want to see the video of that shit. But I mean, I don't know, man. You kind of have these action star guys just being like weird as fuck. You know what I mean? Like you're like the old ones. You got your Steven Seagals and your Jean-Claudes and shit like the 90s. I don't see like Jason Statham up in that bitch kicking Cody in the face. So, maybe in like 10 years when Jason Statham is like washed up or something, he'll be in the UFC. But I mean, like if you're running with action stars, my guy, get like, I'm talking like WME, IMG, get like the recent ones. You know what I'm saying? Like don't get the 90s ones, but they're the ones that are all up in it, and that shit is funny as fuck, man. Yeah, man. What else we got going on? Shit, man. So fucking dry. Not much going down. You got what's his face? That Greg Hardy's booked for his third MMA fight. I don't really give no fucks about that. Oh, yeah, Justin Gaethje said he wants to fight Kevin Lee. I feel like that'd be a good fight. I could see Kevin Lee winning that. I could see Gaethje winning that. But Kevin Lee could probably just go more to his wrestling. Like, when you look at the position Kevin Lee had Tony Ferguson in towards the end of the first, that was like, I believe it was the end of the first, where he had a mountain and he was kind of beating him down. Kevin Lee can get in that position and he can dominate. So I could see him doing that at Gaethje. I could see Gaethje winning the fight too. So that should be a good fight. That should be a fun fight too. What else we got going down, man? So I'm seeing an article on BJ Penn. Hold on, I gotta adjust my mic a little. All right, there we go. It says Dana White opens up on one fight Conor McGregor wants really bad. I'm just gonna read it as I go. Fucking BJ Penn. Man, they fucking clickbaited me, dog. Like, it's pretty much like that. Conor obsessed with the Diaz fight loss, and now he's starting to obsess with that Mayweather loss. BJPenn.com kind of stays clickbait and shit, man. I'm not even. They kind of stay doing this shit, but I fuck with the website, but still, man. Yeah, man. I can't think of anything else. I think that's about it, though. Like, yeah, man, I think that's about it. I'm gonna wrap this bitch up. We got a shorter episode, but not much going on. Still cranking out that content, so we're gonna keep cranking out this content till 2018, and we're gonna keep coming strong as a motherfucker. Thank you guys for supporting, and you already know it's Mastermind MMA.